Hello. Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is Tara Martini and the fabulous Becky McNattin. We are glad to have you listening as we live and share stories of mental health. Last week, we discussed maternal mental health. So this week, we are continuing our conversation on motherhood, and we are going to explore the massive concept of mom shaming.
Mom shaming.
Mom shaming. So, Becky, when I say the words mom shaming, what do those words mean to you?
Well, I find myself thinking about moments in my life where I've experienced what I now see as shame. So I feel like I'm flipping through memories in my head, as you say, mom shaming, on when's that been a thing for me?
Right. And so when has it been a thing for you? And then just that piece of, sadly, you probably knew what it meant when I said mom shaming, because that term is used so universally, and it is something that we as moms can relate to, which is such a sad reality, right? Because it's that idea of we're supposed to be building each other up, not putting each other down.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking two paths here. One is both when I've experienced it, and now there's almost this kind of personal call out of when I've probably done it too.
Oh, girl, yes.
So I'm thinking about a moment in my own life. I'm a parent of 3 kids. I'm in the grocery store. I got a phone call from someone very important in my life who had just lost their job. I'm talking with I'm trying to push my kids, realizing
all the things.
My 2 are pinching each other. My one is screaming. And a person stops me in the pharmacy section of the grocery store where I had paused. I was off the phone at that point, and tells me, can I talk to you for a second? I thought she was going to tell me my kids were really cute, because that happened all the time.
You do have cute kids.
She literally tells me, you're the worst mom I've ever seen. You're the worst mom I've ever seen. And I was so surprised. And so I said, what? And she said, I've been following you around the grocery store. I've watched your kids pinch each other. I've watched them not treat each other very nicely. You're not owed being a mom.
This is true story.
This is a true story.
Becky.
It happened in a local grocery store. And
How long ago?
I could feel tears well up in my eyes. And to this moment, when you talk about mom shaming, and you asked me when this happened, this was about 11 years ago.
And still, you reverted back to exactly how you felt. I can see it in your eyes.
I can put myself back in that moment. I barely made it. In that moment, I decided, after this exchange was done, I couldn't even speak. I just let her talk at me. I decided I needed to go pay. Tears as I'm paying are like, do not cry right now. Do not cry right now. But I thought that took energy for you to be cruel to me. That took energy for you to be cruel to me. And I can put myself right in that spot in this moment as I think back about what did shame feel like. And so I'm thinking about that. I'm also thinking about what are times that I have insidiously shamed, where I've judged other people, I've criticized their parenting. I have participated in what this system of mom shame is.
And how brave of you to admit it. We just said right before air, oh my gosh, we both have mom shamed, right? We have done it. If we really dig deep, we have done it. I am so sorry that happened to you. That is absolutely disgusting, right? And I think of the judgment, the assumptions, so many things that woman placed on you. And then here you are, as you explained to us, you were just taking a phone call because someone lost a job.
Yeah. And she said, I've watched you talk on your phone as your kids were doing this all, and you did nothing. And so it highlights this experience of we don't know what the story is. We don't know what's going on for people. We are choosing the judgment or the criticism, and what our actions are doing to reflect what we see, and then the meaning making that we're taking from that. I can't wait to talk more about all of this. It's going to be a great discussion.
It's
so much for us to explore.
Big topic, girl. So as we head out to commercial break, I want you to think of the following things. Have you ever said, oh, that's never been an issue for me in my parenting? Or if that woman would just blank, then her kids would be blank. Have we ever said that to anyone?
We'll be right back.
Oh, goodness. All right. We will see you in a couple minutes. We'll be back with...
You gotta find the people. In a world full of strangers, you don't know that's right. All you see is danger.
Welcome back, everyone, to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I am Becky McNattin, along with host Tara Martini. Let's get right back to our discussion about the concept of mom shaming. And Tara, you had a few questions right before we went to our break that we were asking listeners.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
So if you're just tuning in, we have heard an awful example of that mom shaming exists in our world, and it's happened to us. We also went over a couple of things that, because if we really look at it to our core and are honest with ourselves, we have also mom shamed before.
Yes.
And because so many people think of mom shaming in the way you gave that example of a woman berating you publicly on your parenting. But mom shaming can also be in simple questions or comments we make to our friends or loved ones or coworkers. But if we really look at it, we are shaming that person, right? So like I said before the break, someone talks about a problem, your friend, and then you say, that's never been an issue for us.
Yes.
There's judgment in that girl.
Oh, my kids don't do that.
Right. Oh my gosh, I've never seen that before.
You have a problem with that thing? That's never been a thing for me.
Yes, that's mom shaming, you guys. Or that whole like, you do that? Oh, that's not allowed in our house. How many times have we said that? Right? And we almost allow ourselves to say it around our closest loved ones, right? Like if I'm going to say it, I probably say that to like my best friend without thinking about it, where, oh my gosh, I am just full of judgment and assumptions and things that I don't have a right to do that. But yet we all do. So,
and how many times in discussions we've heard people say things like, if she would just blank, then her kids would be more behaved, or then her kids would sleep at night, or then her kids would eat their vegetables.
Right.
How many times we engage in judging someone else without really knowing it. Now, there are intense examples of shaming that probably, if we're all honest, we've done that too.
Right.
But I want us to really think about, and you and I have spent some time talking about this, Tara, why do we do this?
Right. And why do we do this?
If we can say on the surface it's super hurtful, if we know having received it, because if there's a parent who is listening, you have experienced shaming. Somebody has criticized or judged or demeaned your choices and made you feel badly about it. So if we can say that, why do we do it?
Right. And that is the thing. Why do we do something so awful? And when I was researching, I realized mom shaming, as we've said, is judgment, it's criticism. But mom shaming starts before the baby is even born. How many times, if I will say I've done this, if I see a 8-month pregnant woman and she's drinking a Mountain Dew, I might think, oh, girl, that's not healthy. That's not okay for me to say that, right? So thinking about mom shaming exists before the child is even born. So let's look at, then why in the world do we do it?
What's the function of it?
Yep.
What are the pieces behind it? Okay, well, I'm thinking about fear. Like our own spaces of, we've done a show on insecurity and our own self-criticality, that maybe we're taking out our own sense of self, how we feel about us, and we are just seeing it everywhere in all of the people. I think sometimes that self-criticality or fear voice makes us think, well, I'm going to judge because I'm being judged.
Right. Right.
And I'm worried about how people are going to perceive my own parenting or my own decisions. So I'm going to do that too. We don't necessarily know that fear or insecurity is driving it, but I would guess that one of the functions of that is we're looking to either absolve hurt from our own spaces of insecurity or our own hurt from what we might receive from people, or we literally are just like engaging in the system of judge and be judged. We all do this.
Right. And it's that piece of, like you said, those insecurities or those fears of, I bet if we really took a closer look at ourselves, the things that I am mom shaming are the areas in which I feel the most secure. right? Not the areas in which I feel an expert in. So let's look at the next one. So the next one is reinforcement of traditional gender roles, which we thankfully are in a time and a place where I feel things are more accepted as far as your own parenting styles, right? Because we have gone away from the cookie cutter, what does a family look like, right? What does parenting look like? And so there's that piece, though, related to mom shaming of what happens when a mom does decide to deviate from those traditional roles of husband and wife. And are they going to face judgment because of it? And it is that piece of we are hopefully progressing and making strides, but at the same time, are things really founded in this traditional gender roles, right? Where mom stays home and cooks and cleans and dad works.
And that stereotypical, even what relationships look like, that you're talking about historical rooted stereotypes that are perhaps some rooting of where the judgment's coming from, that we're not necessarily aware of it. We're not being taught it,
right?
But it is being noted in subtleties of the way that our system works.
Even something as simple as, think about it. Let's say you are married, your husband works full time, and you don't necessarily have to work, but you want to, right? So you're working outside of the home. Oh, think of the judgment coming from some people of just the fact that you choose to work, right? Because that's not rooted in tradition, right? Your role as a mom is to cook and clean and be there to support your husband.
It's a great example because I just overheard a discussion somewhere where I heard two people talking about, oh, she doesn't volunteer at school. She must be really busy with what she's doing for work. To two people who were volunteering at their children's school. That is the insidious mom shaming.
It is at its finest.
At its finest. You bring up this idea of kind of these cultural or generational roles as well, because part of what you're talking about in reinforcement of traditional roles is there's a generational component.
Absolutely.
Certainly cultural reinforcement, and how often generationally we experience mom shaming, that people are looking at like, well, this is what I did when I was a new mom or a young parent. That isn't necessarily an understanding of awareness what the experience is like for someone right now.
Correct.
But likely every person who's listening, who's a parent, has heard someone of a different generation say something about, oh, wow. Oh, that's what you do. Okay.
Interesting.
I never did that. And my kids turned out real well, or, whatever that is.
Yeah. Look at the adults they've become.
Look at the adults they've become.
Well, and the point you bring up about the generational differences is to me, stood out so much because I was just in Arizona visiting my brother and his wife, who are new parents to their beautiful little girl. And they happened to be blessed to have my parents living in the same town during the winter. And they live on the same property as the other set of grandparents. So it's this beautiful generational, upbringing where everyone gets to be a part of it. But with that, you've now made me reflect going, I wonder how much judgment has been placed on my brother and his wife and how they're parenting as the grandparents watch, which is such a unique opportunity. But it's interesting to think about, like, wow, how much of it do they want to control and kind of like bring in their old traditional values and customs? And how much are they stepping back and going, okay, these are not my kids. This is not my baby.
And what were the expectations or requirements of life in the 80s is really different from the life requirements right now. But
so different.
But as you're saying it, I'm thinking also, if you are the current parent, recognizing that other people who are participating in your life are going to be coming from their own spot of that's what they knew.
Yes.
That we can kind of shame that experience of like, well, you don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know.
How do you know? Yep. Exactly. Yep. And it's that, so that brings me to the next one. And that is the piece of fear of the unknown, right? So like you had said, both my sister-in-law and my brother work full time. Well, a generation ago, my mom stayed home and my dad worked, right? So fear can also be in that sense of, but I don't know what it's like, so that's scary, and different is scary. So there could be judgment on them coming from the generation before of, well, both of you work. You can't be around the baby as much, right? Where that's not wrong. It's just different. And different doesn't have to be wrong, and you don't have to be scared of it, right? So that fear of what is different can drive people to shame and criticize, where if we just took a step back and said, it is not wrong, it is just different, and different can be beautiful.
And that fear may be our own anxiety talking, or the shame might be a result of our need to validate our fear, but it comes across as a statement of our own knowing,
right?
Without actually knowing,
right?
That we're making assumptions about all sorts of things that we don't know,
right?
We literally don't know, and what would be different if we were more aware that fear of the unknown was the key factor in whether or not we were shaming. I'm just thinking about how many circumstances would be different from if we just knew that was going on, or if people could own, like, wow, I guess it's my own anxiety in whatever this is for me, looking at you, and I'm saying a judgmental comment right now about that.
Yep. And that plays into so many things, including other episodes we've done, right? That if we just had the capacity to do that, it's just like at the beginning of the episode when we're both like, we have actually mom shamed before, right? But you have to have the willingness to be vulnerable and kind of step back and say. And so it is. And it's just that piece of the societal expectations, right? Like these unrealistic look at, no, even if you're both working outside of the home, everything should be lovely and your house should be clean and dinner should be on the table and all of these things, where that is not a realistic expectation of what parenting looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's very different. People are working all sorts of different hours. Their norm they've created for their family unit is amazing, but it may look different than yours.
Well, you and I had an interesting experience just recently where we both have children who are teenagers.
Oh, yes.
Who we said, and we had this, I think, both anticipatory mom shaming from the other person. Just recently, it didn't go that way. We gave grace to each other. We were talking about our kids and going on a trip together.
Yep.
And you said something about, well, my kiddo only eats pizza and only certain brands of pizza. And I think I said something like, oh my gosh, my kiddo eats basically like a 4-year-old and only likes chicken tenders.
Chicken nuggets, yes.
And if we were in a certain space, because both of us said it with kind of some trepidation, and both of us responded to the other with, totally hear you.
Yes. Support.
Yes. That doesn't say anything about your parenting, that your teenager only eats 3 things.
Right.
The equivalent of like buttered noodles.
Yes,
and
100%. Cheeseburgers and pizza.
Yes.
Yep.
That it was just, I looked at you and it was grace.
Yes.
Eternal. And I think about how different that is than what you talk about societal expectations that set us up for anticipated judgment, which I sensed, and I think you sensed from me too.
100%. And it's that piece of, because, Becky, outside of you, my experience had always been, and I felt, I may not have, been receiving it, but I felt judged. When I typically would be like, okay, well, let's plan a restaurant. And I'd be like, oh, do they have chicken fingers, grilled cheese, cheeseburgers?
And cheeseburgers with no seeds on them.
Yes, exactly. And no condiments except for ketchup.
Yeah.
And it's that piece of, because it wasn't received in the past, I had been judged. And so knowing how amazing you are, there was still a fear of,
Yeah.
if I share this, will I be judged? Right? And instead we both realized it's not bad parenting. It's just how our kids are.
Right now.
Yes.
And so that makes me think about, because you and I have talked a lot about how mom shaming happens so much because of this experience of what we put out there as perfection. I think it is some of those societal expectations.
Yep.
It's this living it out on social media.
Yes.
That I sometimes think in our own need, or for people who are posting that their life is just amazing all the time, that is also a subtle sense of mom shaming in looking at, look at how awesome my life is in this moment.
Yep. You nailed it.
That we also hear or receive it from, wow, we shame the person who posted the thing.
Right.
So it's just like ridden with mom shaming.
All the time. And it's, so as I was researching for this episode, I came across an article that explained a bit, because to me, I wanted to understand how this started, right? What is it rooted in? And something really stood out. It said, in the past, we once had societal structures that promoted interdependence over individualism. And at some point, a competitive hustle culture mentality became commonplace. So many mamas then were stuck in survival mode, and they were keeping quiet because of feelings of blame and shame from the judgment of others. And so it's that piece of, we have, if we really reflect on it as a country and as a society, we have gone from, here is my community, here is my village, and those people are there to raise me up and support me, to now that village has expanded, and it is now you're exposed to ones that you don't even live by, right? It's the social media piece of these women who you've never met, nor will you ever meet. And this anonymity of, I can judge others and post and comment, and there's no repercussions. Right? Because pre-internet, moms simply had the women around them to compare themselves to, right?
Neighbors or their own family members.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those were chosen people in their inner circle.
Yeah.
So that you were more supported, you learned from one another. Just a couple days ago, I stumbled across a quote on Instagram that resonated with me, and it said, your soul was actually never meant to know the outside world.
Wow.
Now, you might think, well, I like the outside world. I want to see the outside world. But to me, because I had been planning this episode, I was thinking, they're right. Your soul and your heart was never meant to be compared to millions of others. Right? It was meant to be within the confines of this small community, right? Where we were mentored and we were supported and we grew together.
That makes total sense.
Into now, the current way of living is the exact opposite, right? The internet has made it remarkably easier for moms to view the lives of other moms through social media platforms, where we can honestly create an image of motherhood that others see as unattainable, right? Like, who has time to make those little bento boxes of lunch things that are shaped all cute and adorable?
With little cutouts?
Cutouts, and every food group is represented. And here I am this morning at 7:30, plopping in a bag. Oh, she's got an apple. Oh, we've got a main thing. Whatever. All right, you're good. Plop on a cute note, and we're set. And I'm just happy I got my daughter a lunch made.
Yep.
There's so much judgment because we're exposed to so many other, moms out there that have different lives.
Who are also looking to, it's capitalism. They're capitalizing on ideas and innovation. But without really knowing that, we're receiving that from this space of what is shaming and then an experience of guilt. And we kind of live in the guilt-shame dynamic of, likely this morning even, as you're packing the lunch, whether or not you are aware of this, you were thinking about all that it isn't.
100% I was. Absolutely I was.
As you are, which I was doing myself this morning, running downstairs saying, I'm so late. I'm so late. And my sweet kiddo being like, well, you at least got shoes on, Mom, which has happened. Actually, I have gotten in the car with no shoes on and said, that'll have to do. I will have to put them on later.
I love it.
That we are in the moment operating from a space of anticipatory shame and guilt for what it isn't.
Which leads me so beautifully to our next little segment. And that is, what I want to do is I want to take a look at motherhood through the lens of something that I try to pick a universal concept that even in the world, whether you're in the world of therapy or not, you've heard of. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. Wanted to look at it through the lens of motherhood and through the needs of a mother's well-being and ability to nurture her children and how they are directly related to her own needs being met at each level of this hierarchy.
Okay.
And so it's that idea of almost like, let us take some time to kind of expose the piece of, here's the thing, ladies, when you're mom shaming that you're not thinking of. Right? If the woman at Target or whatever the store was that you were at with your kids, the grocery store, if she had just taken a second to pause and said, I wonder what was happening in that woman's life to have to take that phone call, right? It must have been really important, rather than a place of judgment. So let's peel that whole thing back and look at what really could have been going on.
Let's do it.
Okay. So it's that piece of, so if you don't know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's this idea of you have your basic needs like food, water, shelter, warmth. And that's one part of the pyramid. If you don't have those things met, it is difficult to meet the needs the next level, right?
Yep.
And so again, it's that piece of so many people think that frustrated mom is choosing to be mad at her kids, right? Not, she just might be so exhausted because she worked last night really late and now has to take her kid to the grocery store, right? And is wiped.
Yep.
But we don't peel it back. We just judge.
Yep.
Okay, so let's look at, and we could even tag team these. So the first one is just that physiological need of a mother needs to have her basic needs met to have the energy and focus to care for her children. And that is where a lot of women sit, right? It is, do I have a roof over my kids' heads? Do I have one over mine? Do we have food on the table? Do we have access to clean water? And without those things, it is so difficult to accept ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And be fully present and reach our potential if we can't even meet our basic needs.
Yeah. Well, and things like, have I eaten this morning? Or did I sleep last
week?
night?
Yeah, last week.
Yes. So from that physiological needs, you may have access to it. It might not have happened. So that if you are in a space of you haven't slept all night because your child was ill or you were doing something else, that you're showing up at that base level of you aren't going to be able to show up for these other things without those being met.
You're not going to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that leads to the next level then of Maslow's hierarchy on safety needs that women who are mothers need to be feeling safe and secure. That could be financially, emotionally, definitely physically, to provide a stable and nurturing environment for her kids.
Absolutely. And it is also that piece of when we were looking at this episode and talking about what we were going to discuss, it is that idea of people also don't think of the ramifications of mom shaming on the child, right? Because what your children heard, if they were old enough to understand, they may not have been, but let's just say they were a little bit older, and they heard someone say to you, you are a bad mother. Imagine the impact that has on your kids.
Yeah.
And how traumatizing that would be. Now, thankfully, you said your kids were babies, right? We all know as therapists, there's still an impact, right? But imagine if your kids were in middle school and they heard that. That piece of, if we are shaming a mom simply for just trying her best and maybe falling short, but she's still trying, it's going to also have a profound impact on the children.
Yes, I have vivid memory of my own mom paying with food stamps as a child. And a woman right behind us telling my mom in the grocery store line a pretty demeaning comment about paying for food with stamps. And I knew in that moment that I was bad. That's what I knew in that moment. So you are absolutely highlighting the impact to a child from mom shaming, whether or not we intend it. And it leads to that, love and belonging needs of Maslow. In a mother needs strong social connections and a sense of belonging from friends, family, community to support that emotional well-being and provide positive role model for her kids.
And that we have mentioned that word, I think, probably over 100 times since we started this show, of connection.
Yeah.
Right? That connection piece, you, as a human being, you have a desire to be connected. It's just how it is. And like you said in that moment, it's still sticking with me so much about how you just said with the food stamps of you didn't just feel disconnected, but you felt shame. And you didn't even say, I realized in that moment I was different. You said, I realized in that moment I was bad.
Yeah. Yes.
That's huge, right? And think of, we do that without even really going, well, what's the impact going to be on the child, right? And then that becomes your identity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so now look at, you take that in as your identity, and yet you then don't have a support system. You're looking around going, wait, I don't have someone to validate me. I don't have someone to support me. And so how can I be that support for my children, right? And be that positive role model if I don't feel supported? Which then goes to, okay, let's pray that this mom does have a strong support system and feels connected. Well, then there's that layer of the mom needing to feel valued and respected, and not just by herself, but of others, to maintain her self-confidence and ability to guide her children.
Yeah.
And so often a sad reality is one would think, oh, need to feel valued and respected. Well, I'm sure her partner makes her feel that way. One, she may not have a partner. Two, that partner actually may be the source of the opposite.
Sure.
Invalidating her, not showing her respect. And now, again, going back to, it's this pyramid piece of, oh my gosh, if she's not feeling valued, she's not feeling connected, she's not feeling safe, she's not having her basic needs met, then, oh my gosh, how can she feel confident about her parenting skills?
Yes.
And
well
how
said.
easily she can then soak in the judgment of others until this final layer, right, of, oh my goodness, the self-actualization, right? If I have all these things, a mother then can pursue her own passions, interests, and goals to maintain a sense of purpose and inspire her children to reach their full potential. But if she is struggling with all the other layers before that, how in the world can she inspire her children to reach their full potential when she is literally just worried about all the other things? And so how do we expect, a really long story short, how do we expect the women around us and in our world to feel empowered, to feel supportive, if our natural instinct is to judge and to criticize?
Yeah.
My goodness, let's try and move from a place of transforming shame into support, right?
Well said.
Criticism into love. And if we can do that, oh my goodness, and I say this all the time, what a beautiful place we would be in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So before we jump into this beautiful article called Reimagining Shame, I want to give an example. I recently traveled due to spring break, like many people. Like I said, I headed down to Arizona, and I found myself, maybe because we were planning this episode, so it was fresh in my mind, but I found myself hypersensitive to any form of mom shaming on this plane. And let me tell you, a plane is not just a petri dish for illnesses and viruses, but it is a perfect environment, a perfect storm for mom shaming.
Yes, it is.
Because, honey, you've got no personal space. You have no privacy. Everyone's parenting skills are on full display for all to witness and all to judge.
Yes.
Right? Well, of course, my flight was no different. But thankfully, I was on the lookout and hypersensitive to it to take down anyone who felt like mom shaming. So there was a woman in front of me, And she's coming down with her 3 small children and her husband like 5 feet behind her. And they're looking for seats. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm really excited. I hope they sit in front of us because her kids were so adorable and it'd be so fun just to, be entertained. And my daughter would have loved to have sat by the kids. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the faces of other people. And it is like if you could have imagined every female on the plane or male putting their finger on their nose, like, not it. No, I don't want to be that person.
I could
right?
completely picture it.
Seriously.
Yeah.
They didn't have their fingers on their noses, but you could tell it in their nonverbals. So it's that piece of, well, thankfully, they sat right in front of us. Okay. And I had to giggle. And this dad is an incredible dad, but I did have to giggle because the mom sat in one seat with her children around her, and then dad sat in front of him. And I thought, here we go with the gender roles. I had to giggle.
Yeah.
Now, she would hand the kid off over the seat to the husband at times, but I did have to giggle that is where the mom started. Now, again, my daughter and I are giddy because we're excited to hang out with children. But if you looked around at the people and the looks that mom was getting if the baby cried, right? Or if the son got a little loud because the son was so excited to have this baby sibling. And so he often would make comments that were rather loud. My daughter and I are thinking it's adorable, but yet when you look around, it was so poorly received by others. It was astonishing. What to me was more astonishing was the fact that a lot of these people, it was spring break, so they're with their families.
Yeah.
So they're sitting with their teenagers or adult children. Every single one of them has been a parent of young children.
If they're there with kids,
Correct.
yes. Every
But-
one of those children used to be small.
Right. But somehow they're forgetting that, right? So there is judgment. There is all those things. And in my idealistic self, I was thinking how amazing it would be if they all just led with compassion and curiosity, right? Rather than judgment and criticism, because that it was received. And it was just such a telling, not a big example or profound, but just a very realistic, everyday occurrence of mom shaming, because nobody volunteered to hold the baby, or no one said to the mom other than me, "You've got this," or "I totally get it."
Right.
But how easy it would be to do that, right? And so this article that I had found, it was this idea of, and thinking of them, it made me think of the mom in the airplane where maybe there was and I don't know, but maybe she felt shame in that moment, right? Maybe she knew, oh, I'm the mom with the 3 small kids on the plane.
Hypersensitivity to the judgment.
Yes.
So anticipating shame, living in that space right before.
Yep.
Where you know it's coming, you're hyper attuned to what's going on around you, thinking about, and you highlight something really beautiful on highlighting what could be possible if people tried to engage with kids or were playful with them, or rephrasing something, or even coming from a space of grace and remembering when. What that changes but that both parents likely were anticipating something very different, and what behavior changed because of that anticipation. Right. What stress was there, what that added to.
Yes. It's already stressful enough, right? You're on a plane with 3 small kids, you're traveling to see relatives. And so it's that piece of, and for the sake of time, I want to make sure we have time for the fact of how do we transform that shame into support. And there's this beautiful article, it's called "In the Absence of the Village, Mothers Struggle Most," which we could talk about that title forever. But it stated the least we can do is suspend our tendency to judge one another, replace it with a mindset of curiosity, and resolve to do a better job empowering the other woman in our lives through intentional action or advocacy. The author states, whoever coined the phrase, "everyone you meet is facing an invisible battle, be kind," was accurate. Kindness is a balm for the soul. The key to empowering struggling parents is to remain open and supportive, driven by curiosity to understand their circumstances. Most parents, and I'm going to change that with all parents, are doing the best they can with what they have. And that's true for everybody.
Wow. I mean, we're going to leave it there Beautiful words.
Yeah.
Amazing discussion. We're going to head to a commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to talk through listener questions about this exact experience of mom shaming and more about that quote, likely. Feels Out Loud will process your thoughts in just a moment.
You don't never need help from no. Express yourself.
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this part of the show is where we talk to you all, our listeners, about the questions you have. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or topics for each week that you would like us to process through, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit that question directly. Or you can certainly email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We really want to hear from you all and what you're wondering about.
Becky and I are so grateful to the people that sent in questions. I did, though, just choose one because I thought it was perfect for this time of the show.
Yeah.
Also, we always want to make sure we have action steps. So I felt it was a good fit. So the listener was brave and said, I know shaming is harmful and I want to do better.
Yes.
How can I change what I say to move from that place of from shaming to more supportive, kind words for other moms?
Well, I love that.
I know. So great.
Action
Yes.
here. I would say to this listener, thank you. Mm-hmm. This is a personal challenge. It's been a call out for you and I today too.
Yep.
I'm thinking ask a mom how she's doing.
Yeah, simply just ask how she's doing. And these are positive, shame-free ways to offer advice that will empower. So it doesn't mean you're just offering support. You can offer advice, but you're doing it in a way that is not shameful, right? So not only ask how she's doing, but be positive. Come from a place of concern, right? Not from a place of judgment. And just be there to listen and support.
But and you bring up something that we probably shame our friends. We probably shame our family members.
Our poor friends and family.
So come from a place of concern and legitimate care. Be there to listen and support. Let her know that you are there when she needs it.
Just knowing that is so great. And here's the thing, you can rephrase simple things. For example, rather than saying, oh my goodness, you ought to do it this way, or ooh, I don't do that way.
Yeah.
What if you said something like, things might make things easier if you tried this out, or have you ever thought of trying whatever out? And it is all about delivery and your intention that's going to make all the difference. And what a difference that is by just saying, hey, this might make things easier if, right?
Well, I love that because it if all of us could talk about the ways that parents all have obstacles to go overcome, maybe sharing something that you're dealing with too. Explain how you got through particular moments, maybe even laugh about it with the other mom.
And it's just like we said in the last episode, then you don't feel isolated. You don't feel alone. And that's what's so important is illustrating that. You know what? Tell her when she's doing a great job. You don't have to add anything else to it. But when you see her doing that remarkable job, tell her.
Yes.
So that in the future, if you see there's a spot where she would appreciate advice, she feels better receiving it.
Yes.
Because she knows that according to your standards, she's a good mom.
Yeah.
She's going to take that advice then and do something with it.
Well, and talking about the situation itself.
Yes.
The moment itself and not the mom. Even her actions, but the mom in her essence.
Yes.
To avoid doing that.
Yes, and it's that shift from I saw you do this to, oh, that situation is so hard when our kids are screaming and flailing about in the aisle of whatever store you're in, rather than saying, and you did nothing, right? Or you were on your phone. It's showing compassion in that. It has nothing to do with what she did or didn't do. It's how do we alleviate that tantrum, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the mom. It's the action of the child. But yet who's being judged? The mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So the other thing we can simply do is, nonverbals are everything, people, is if you see a mom struggling, give her your support. Like I said, you've got this. Or, hey, I've been there too. Don't give the side eye.
Oh, well, beautiful way to end for today because it's support, not side eye.
Yes.
Support,
love
not side-eye.
it.
And we are at the end of our show for today. Thank you for listening this morning, everyone. Join us next week as we explore the generational differences around mental health. We're going to have special guests on the show to highlight the ways mental health has changed through the decades. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself, everyone. Remember that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
Some go